Hello learners, today we are going to complete the topic poetics by taking up the last important topic, that is character. As we have already talked about all the other 5 elements which are required in the tragedy except one, that is your character. In the previous video we in detail discussed the elements of plot, types of plot and the importance of plot. So we have talked about plot in detail, and as I said that we need a separate video for characters, so here I am with the remaining portion of tragedy and as a result poetics, because with completing all these topics we are going to finish the topic poetics by Aristotle. So today our first thing to discuss is the last element that was remaining, that is character. When I talk about art of characterization in the view of Aristotle, I mean successful art of characterization, there is a successful characterization. He asked the dramatist to possess or to give keep in mind 4 essential qualities that the characters should possess. These 4 these essential qualities are on the slide as well. As you can see, characters should be good, characters should be appropriate, characters should be true to life, characters should be consistent. So these are the 4 essential qualities which the characters must possess, or the dramatist should keep in mind while writing the action or the plot or developing the characters through during that taking place of actions. So let us just begin with the first one. We'll just discuss in a little bit of detail all these 4 qualities. So first one, when I'm talking about that character should be good, here I mean goodness, right? It is the most basic requirement in a character that Aristotle wants the dramatist to give to the character. The character should be created keeping in mind that goodness quality. According to him, an extremely bad man is not worthy presenting on a stage. What he says that why this is why it is not important, it's good, not exactly worth if you present a bad man suffering on the stage. We have to keep in mind that tragedy aims at evoking the emotions of pity and fear, and through which catharsis is achieved. But if one person, if we talk about us, we see a bad person suffering, we do not feel pity for them, we do not find any sympathy for them, because we in fact we enjoy or we find it good to see the bad person suffering, because we see it as a justice of God, right? And we do not feel any kind of sympathy for that person. So then the aim of tragedy is lost, because there is no emotion, such emotion, pity and fear are not evoked. So the aim is to evoke such emotion, and that can only happen when you see somebody good suffering. If you see somebody good suffering, there is definitely a pain of sympathy, a kind of emotion you feel for him, you connect, you cry with them, you exactly feel what they are feeling, and you feel very bad for them that how they are being going through such emotions. So ultimately the aim of tragedy is achieved when the audience sees a good man suffering on the stage. So the first quality is to be goodness. But here I must clear this out as well, that it doesn't mean that all the characters need to be so good. Yeah, there could be other characters, good, bad, anything, but the central character on which the tragedy is dependent, whose suffering and pain is valuable for the audience, so that characters has to be created or developed by keeping that point in mind. I must tell you this also, that Aristotle used the term Greek word Christo. Christos means actually good. Up here good means not just good in that sense. This good quality means all the positive qualities also. In Greek sense, if we see, it can simply such as courage. It all these terms are included in it. Courage, magnificence, temperance, friendliness, all the positive sides, which makes how you judge a person to be good, because this other person is friendly, the other person is nice to you, he is brave, he is courageous, he is he follows chivalry. So all these good characters can be included in the term good, Christos, right? Christos, in a simple sense, we can say good only, but it is an umbrella term here for all the positive sides. So yes, with goodness, it doesn't mean simply good, all the qualities which makes a person to be called a good person. First thing. Now the second point is character should be appropriate. Here appropriate would mean propriety, right? This is the second most important quality. And what exactly he means by propriety? Aristotle says these characters should follow a particular set of behavior, which are accepted set of behavior, which has to be followed in the same way. We are talking about very old time, and you should remember that at that time your class, your gender would decide that what kind of what set of patterns or what set of action you are supposed to follow or behave or act. Like how I'm saying, see, a king, or sorry, let us take a gender example, a boy and a girl. We had been in the past, it's you all have seen that the boys are expected to behave in particular manner, that they have to be brave, they do not need to talk a lot, they have to be manly, they should not be in fact timid or crying or bitching, all these things. Sorry, I'm so sorry for the word. They should not have such qualities which are termed as girlish qualities. Nowadays, since the time has changed and we are eradicating the difference between the set patterns of behavior, even then in practical life it is difficult to see a boy behaving like a girl. It is difficult to accept. At that time, such kind of roles were very highly considered, that a boy should behave in a particular way. He has to be bold, he has to be adventurous, and he has to be so courageous enough that he can take revenge, doing bloodshed also for that, so he can go to that extent. But all these qualities cannot be expected in a girl. A girl only has to be, as beautiful, sweet, loving, sacrificing, all that words that you have been hearing for the girls, which ultimately make them now these qualities are strength, but at certain point of time this becomes a symbol of weakness. So all those qualities are expected in a girl. They do not expect a girl to be intelligent, a girl to be brave, or a girl to be strong, because that, according to that period, according to the time, such qualities were not accepted in girls. So this is what propriety means over here. According to the class, according to the gender. Class means if you are king, if you are slaves, if you are ministers, if you are common mass. So according to that class and gender, the characters must behave appropriately. So they have to keep in mind the propriety, right? So this is your second quality that a characters must be keep in mind. Next is, your character should be true to life. Now what is true to life? True to life means real life like character. It's very easy to understand, nothing much in it. So they should appear natural living human beings, possessing strength and weakness like in real life. As here the Aristotle is not expecting characters with very heroic qualities or kind of Superman, Batman or Marvel heroes. No, he is asking characters with real life qualities. They are good also, they are bad also, and all these good and bad things make them suffer in their life also too. This also means that they should act according to their class, and this I have already discussed. When I say true to life means they should appear natural, and they would appear natural only when they would follow the propriety too. That is, the girl is behaving like girl, and a boy is behaving in the same way, a king is behaving in his way, and the queen is behaving in the same way. So all the qualities according to the class and gender, that also has to be followed. That will be your true to life quality to the character. Now last point is character should be consistent. That means the quality of consistency. Now what is consistency? Consistency means there is gradual, evenness. It should not be uneven. What I mean by here evenness or uneven, I would like to explain it this way. The characters must develop in a proper way, gradual manner. It shouldn't be that the day before the character is different, in the other day, the next day the character has totally different realization. No. And you are not able to accept such kind of change when there are sudden changes in the characteristics of the character. So there has to be a sudden, not the sudden, sorry, gradual growth in the character. So which will, even if there is a downfall in the character, that has to come properly. Enough, time and space has to be given, so that the degradation, the fall is watched, or the audience are able to, see the peculiarities, how the character is going towards his downfall. That has to be observed and seen, and it would evoke a kind of fear in the audience. So that has to be done in a very keeping in mind all the nuances. Plus this all should happen under the law of possibility and necessity. I have already mentioned this in the previous lecture, that law of probability and necessity has to be followed. So this keeping that in mind, the character should develop either towards goodness or towards his downfall. So ultimately things should appear logical and natural, not suddenly things happening there. So this makes all these qualities, above mentioned qualities that I have discussed right now, goodness, propriety, true to life, and consistency, are the four essential features of a successful characterization from the point of view of Aristotle. And this has been kept in mind for a long period, because that's how people were seen, right? The tragedy was judged. For a long period this was followed, definitely. So this is about characterization. Another important topic is tragic hero. I must, because this also becomes a question sometimes, like what are the qualities of tragic hero? This this is an call of sort collection of all the points that we have discussed earlier throughout. We have, from the very beginning, he has been mentioning about different things, and this has been in a collective form. I would say that first, the character should be somebody important. That means he has to be from a reputed family. He cannot be a common man, because you would not feel for him, and you would not all that great things or that great fall would not happen to a common man. It has to come from a reputed family whose fate is connected to the common mass also, right? So very first point, this has already been discussed. Second is goodness, which already we have discussed, but now he adds another point to it, that the character should be good, but neither too good nor too bad. Because if anything happens to too good person, then your faith in God completely collapses. And where if anything bad happens to bad person, then you would not sympathize with him. So that person has to be good, but this good is neither too good. That you have to keep in mind. It doesn't have to be too good to break your faith in God. So the last point, which actually creates a tragic hero, it makes him the tragic hero. If a person is good, how he is going to be it's going to be a tragedy, because he has a flaw. It's not that the character is good but he doesn't have flaws. A person can be good, like all of us must be good, because we all are good, but it doesn't make us perfect. We have our problems, we have our flaws. Let's face it, nobody can completely 100% say that I'm a perfect person, because we all have some kind of flaws in us. So that flaw is basically error of judgment. in most of the tragic characters, on most of the tragic heroes. So this tragic flaw in Greek is called hamartia. So the tragic character must possess this flaw, that is hamartia. If you talk about all the great tragedy of Shakespeare, Macbeth or King Lear, Othello, Hamlet, they all had their tragic flaws. So this makes this actually leads to the tragedy of the hero. So here we have talked about characterization, we have talked about tragic hero. Let us just come to a very important point first. In the beginning also, in the previous lecture, I have told you that Shakespeare had given more importance to plot than characterization or the characters. In fact, he went to the extent of calling, he said, there cannot be a tragedy without action, but there can be without character. This is a very important point. He calls plot the soul of tragedy. He says, to make it important, to emphasize on the fact that the plot is the soul, he says that there can be tragedy without character, but there cannot be a tragedy without plot. So now you would be, many of it, there began a kind of debate over this sentence, this line, when he said that without character there can be tragedy, just on plot. So what exactly his meaning was there? Is it possible that without characters there can be any drama even, or there can be tragedy possible without character? So we have to focus here that what exactly he meant by character and tragedy on the other, in the other context. Now when we say character, there is one thing, that is agent on the stage who are acting, right? King, queen, these are the agents who are carrying forward some kind of traits in themselves. That is called the man's character. We all make character certificate, right? And that character certificate tells that you are a good person or a bad person or a cheater or any kind. That characteristic, that character. Here he means by that character that goodness or bad, evil, your qualities, that kind of character he intends to put forward, because he says that it is the action that makes the person happy. Like if we say you must be a very good person, you are a good person, right? But in your life you will be happy or you will be unhappy, this will be decided by your actions, not just your essential goodness, right? If you are bad from inside and you are going to be in pain, that is not true. In fact, what actions you take, that will decide your fate, right? Similarly, goodness will not achieve happy ending in your life. This goodness can also end in tragedy. It is the choice that matters, it is the action that matters that you do. There are many people who claim that they are good, but when they come out to do something, their actions are totally opposite to what they say. So that is another fact too. So it says that Aristotle means, later on many scholars and critics, they came forward to explain this point, and they said that plays are not actually performed to represent characters. It is not, the plays are not the medium to just show characters over there. It is the medium to perform that action, which requires characters as agents. So the first important, the most significant thing in a drama is the action that goes on the stage. It is not the characters which are to be to be kept in mind. They are just the agents to show that action on the stage. So this means that the main of it, aim of it, the main backbone of a tragedy, I should say, is plot. Then it is plot which is more important than the character. Even F.L. Lucas is also a scholar critic. He says that Aristotle's ideal play was Oedipus Rex and Oedipus. In that play, the hero was doomed before he was born. He was very good character, but he was doomed. Doomed means he is going to end up badly, right? So, and it happens. So it's not that his good quality is going to save him. It is the action that are going to take place, and it would lead to his dooming. He's going to end up bad. Similarly, in detective plays, what happens? This Lucas says this, it is quote unquote, in detective plays, characters tend to be subordinate to the intrigue. And this is the first and the most famous of detective, most famous part of the detective plays. This is said by Lucas, because you know, see that in detective plays, the characters are not important. How the murder or the mystery is solved, how that action takes place, that is more important. So this again proves that plot is more important than character. So this is a very important point that we have covered over here. And now we have almost talked about everything about tragedy, and towards the end he discusses about epic poetry and tragedy. So he says tragedy is superior than epic. In final chapter he declares that tragedy is superior than epic. Now what are points he gives? I have made a slide of it, and let me just describe it, that what are the things that makes tragedy superior to epic. In the beginning only we have described that epic and tragedy, they both imitate the same action, that is serious action, right? So the first point for them is that they both imitate serious action. The second point of difference, in fact the first point of difference comes here, because the first point, the earlier point was the common thing that they share. Now the second point is that mode of representation is dramatic form. Like tragedy is presented on a stage in the form of drama, whereas epic is presented as in the form of a narrative. It is done through narration. Next is, we have seen the definition and discussed also that tragedy has spectacles. You can see the scene on the stage, all the action that's happening. And you also note that there are songs included, different meters are used, variety of meters are used. So these things make tragedy rich, because they have spectacle, people, audience can enjoy it. And since there is variety in the speaking, the dialogue delivery and the songs, which makes soothing, or which gives a kind of thrill to the audience. Whereas in epic, what happens, there is no spectacle, because it's only narration, and it only uses a single meter, that is heroic meter. So this comes in only a single tone, so there is no thrill and variety for the audience to enjoy to that, or the listener to enjoy that. Next come tragedy is limited, whereas epic, if we say, there is no limitation in length. It can comprise of time, like it can discuss about a long period of time, any part of space. It can go anywhere. Epic can cover any distance, any time. So epic has no limitation in its length. Now here comes a very major thing. When the length is limited in tragedy, and it has to follow the unity of action that we have already discussed in the previous videos, that unity of action would say that the actions which are chosen for tragedy, they all should work to a single theme. They all should help in highlighting a single theme of action. There should be no variety. Now when this happens, it becomes a compact drama, compact piece of action, because all the actions are working on a single theme. Whereas epic, if we talk about, it includes variety of events, because there is no limitation on time or space. There can be simultaneously many events going on. So what happens in that process, when you are covering so many events all together, the hold of that emotion is lost, because at a time somebody is happy, at a time somebody is going through some pain, at a time somebody, so the audience is the targeted emotions are not evoked and in that manner. Whereas when you are discussing a single theme of action, and which is going to focus on a single emotion, definitely the aimed or targeted emotion is evoked in the audience, like pity and fear. So that makes the last point, and which decides the superiority of tragedy over epic. That is because tragedy is successful in evoking those emotions, targeted emotions, and hence the function of tragedy is fulfilled. This is not seen in epic. due to lack of all the important features like spectacles, variety in songs, and failure in evoking that particular targeted emotions, it doesn't fulfill that kind of no catharsis, I should say, because if we cannot say there is no pleasure in it, there is no amusement in it. Definitely epic has its own aesthetics, but the targeted emotions are not evoked, and which would not lead to catharsis, which is actually the aim of, should be aim of the drama according to Aristotle. So this decides for Aristotle that tragedy is greater than or superior than epic. So that will be all. I hope you all liked and understood the topic, and you would all find it easy now to comprehend Aristotle in through these lectures. That will be all, students. Thank you and have a great time ahead.